Now, when I talk about the decay, in the art of lying, I'm talking about the silent lie. It requires no art. You simply keep still and conceal the truth. For example, it would not be possible for a humane and intelligent person to invent a rational excuse for slavery. And yet in those early days of the emancipation agitation in the North, those agitators got small help from anyone. Argue and plead and pray as they might, they could not break the universal stillness that reigned from pulpit and press all the way down to the bottom of society. The clammy stillness created and maintained by the lie of silent assertion. The silent assertion that there wasn't anything going on in which humane and intelligent people ought to be interested. Well, when whole nations of people conspire to propagate gigantic, mute lies like that one in the interest of tyrannies and shams, why should we care anything about the trifling ones told by individuals? Why make them undesirable? Why not be honest and honorable and lie every chance we get? Why should we help the nation lie the whole day long and then object to telling one little insignificant private lie in our own interest? Just for the refreshment of it, I mean, and to take the rancid taste out of our mouth. No, there's no art to this silent lying. It is timid and shabby.
The silent lie.
Yeah, it's interesting. You have chosen a moment that has quite an interesting history in the show. Of course, doing that in the civil rights period, in the heat of it all, was quite something. I was the guinea pig at Oxford, Mississippi, back in 1962.
After they integrated the university with James Meredith as the first black.
Yeah, James Meredith, the first black. And I was on my way there from out in the West Coast, and I called from Chicago to my manager. I says, what am I supposed to do? I mean, you know, they're having riots there, and I'm supposed to go down there tomorrow, you know. And he said, well, they haven't said don't go, Hal. So we go down, my stage managers and I, we find out, make a long story short, that I am the guinea pig. I am the first thing the school is going to be allowed to assemble for. They'd cancel a football game, big deal at Ole Miss, and everything, and I am the guinea pig. And they got federal men in the audience, and you know, they got the New York Times, the Herald Trib, the Washington Post. Everybody's in the motel. What are you going to do, Hal? What are you going to do? To make a long story short, I was scared. They had federal men backstage. They gave me a fire extinguisher and showed me how to defend myself. They had an escape route out the stage door to the girls' dorm. They didn't know what would happen if Meredith was there, etc. And I was going on. And just before I went on, some stagehand, hoping to be funny maybe, I don't know, he says, Hal, because there was big windows in the thing, it was like an old church, you know, that was now the auditorium. They said, watch out for the guys with squirrel rifles in the trees. Well, you know, before I went, I mean, it really scared me.
And you had this this part in the piece about, in the performance about the silent lie of slavery.
Yeah, and that was, and so when we got to this point,
yeah,
I decided to go for the heavy stuff and give the audience the toughest stuff I could, and this was the beginning of the second act before Huckleberry, and I did it. And I take that long walk at the end of it. It is timid and shabby.
It is timid and shabby.
And I take the long walk to the lectern and let him sit with that hot potato. Whether it's today's audience or any, you let them sit with that hot potato in their hand. And the audience applauded. 3 times in 50 years, the audience has applauded at that moment. 3 times. The first time was in Hamburg, Germany in 1961. The second time was in Oxford, Mississippi in 1962, I think it was. And the third time was in Prague behind the Iron Curtain in 1986.
3 different people growing up and living under the tyranny of a lie, of a great lie. Mm-hmm.